All right, stats students, welcome to my very first video for stats. Today we are going to be talking about a topic that we've already talked about before. It's just on normal curves and standard deviations. I wanted to start us off with something simple so that way we don't have to worry too much about learning new information yet. But it's also going to be helping us to understand new information that we'll probably start next week. So without further ado, let's get started on normal curves and standard deviations. So as of now, we already know how to make a normal curve. Let's go ahead and start that by just drawing a horizontal line, like so, and drawing a normal curve above it. Now keep in mind, these are going to be sketches, so they're not meant to be perfect. Mine is clearly not perfect, and I don't expect yours to be perfect as well. What we're going to do next is just draw a vertical line down the center. This will, of course, represent our average, but we'll put that in a little later. Now let's go ahead and draw 3 vertical lines to the right and 3 vertical lines to the left. Now we want them to be approximately the same distance, but if you aren't that good at drawing them out, that's also fine. Just do your best. From here, we're going to go ahead and label each of these by how far away from the average they are. Well, our average is exactly 0 standard deviations away from our average. Our first standard deviation is 1 standard deviation away from our average, then 2 standard deviations away, and 3. On the opposite end, we're going to do our negatives, so a -1 standard deviation away, -2 standard deviations away, and finally -3 standard deviations away. Now, as is, this doesn't really tell us much about our graph. It only tells us that our graph can go 3 standard deviations to the right and 3 standard deviations to the left. And keep in mind, we don't go any further than 3 to the right or -3 to the left because the probability of those things happening is approximately 0. So let's go ahead and take a moment and let's just write out an average. So let's say that our average is 60. Okay, and we don't necessarily need to give context for this assignment yet, but let's just say that for now, the average of some data collection was 60. Well, we can go ahead and give ourselves a standard deviation as well. And let's say that our standard deviation for this data, that's a sigma there, is equal to, let's just say 6. Okay, well, in order to label our normal curve, we're going to start by putting our average in the center underneath our 0. And every time we travel to the right, we're going to add 6. So 66, 72, and 78. All right, opposite direction, we're just going to subtract 6. 54, 48, and 42. I'm going to move this up so you can actually see those a little bit. Here we go. And we have successfully labeled our normal curve. The last thing I want to do is remind you guys to put our percentages for each one. So between our -1 standard deviation and +1 standard deviation, we're going to write 68%. Just below that, we're going to do from -2 standard deviations all the way to +2 is going to be 95%. And finally, right beyond that, I'm going to try to save a little bit of space here. For all of this would be 99.7%. Add those little percent marks in there as well. Okay, and that concludes the lesson for today. I'm going to give you guys a single assignment in just a moment. and you should be able to see it. And it's just going to be doing this exact same thing with some random data. Thanks very much.